Hi there. I wanted to continue this series of videos by talking about the relationship of the GigRig with the three Strymon pedals. This involves MIDI, and I've learned a few things about it, and I thought that it might be worthwhile sharing. I think what we want to achieve is that we have the GigRig switching the different patches of the three Strymon pedals on each of the sound presets here. So, and as you see, if I go through my setup, I have that. So on patch number 1, I have a jazzy sound. Then here I have a nice clean sound. On 3, I have a fairly clean sound. On 4, I have a crunch sound. 5, more distorted rock sound, and so on and so forth. And as you see, as I go through these patches, then this, the Strymon pedals are changing. And I will tell you the way I have set it up, and I will also tell you a little bit about how to use then the Strymon pedals in stompbox mode. The stompbox mode of the GigRig we've talked about last time is indicated here by the yellow light. As I have explained in the last videos, the way this pedal board is set up is that the three Strymon pedals sit in 3 separate loops. The Big Sky sits in stereo loop number 10, the Timeline sits in stereo loop number 9, and the Mobius sits in the mono loop number 8. I would obviously love to be able to run all 3 Strymon pedals in stereo, but I haven't figured out how to do that. If you know how to do this, just leave a note at the end of the video. Now, what we want to do is that we want to have the 3 Strymons listening to MIDI, but listening to MIDI on different channels. And the reason for that is if we send a certain program change request from the GigRig, we don't necessarily want all 3 Strymon pedals to change their sound simultaneously. And so the way it's set up, as I said before, the MIDI goes out of the GigRig into the Mobius, which is set to MIDI through, into the Timeline, which is also set to MIDI through, into the Big Sky. Now, in the way that you make the Strymons listening to a certain MIDI channel is by pressing this button here and pressing it long. And then you get to a menu that's called Globals. And here in the Globals menu, you go, you turn that wheel until it says MIDI channel. You press this button, and so here you see that the Big Sky I set to channel 3. Okay. Now let's do the same here. Go to Globals, turn the wheel. Now here we're at MIDI channel, and here you see that I've set the Timeline at channel 2. And then you will believe me that I set the Mobius to channel 1. So now how do we make the GigRig send on different channels in different patches? And that is a little trick that of course is documented in the manual, and I didn't know it before I read this manual, so it's always a good idea to read the manual. So now what I did is that I powered off the GigRig, and I will power it on again while holding down button number 7. And that will set the GigRig in the MIDI channel programming mode. And you see that it's indicated by all lights flashing. Now you want to pay attention to what's happening in these buttons here. And at this point in time, they're not controlling the loops, they're controlling the MIDI channels. And as we go through the different patches, you will see that different lights are on, and also tip ring 1, 2, they also tell us something. 1 says that the GigRig is firing MIDI, and if we set this to 2, that would mean that the GigRig on this particular patch is not firing any MIDI. Now, I can go through all of my patches, and so you see that for pretty much most of my patches, the lights 1, 2, and 3 are on. And what that means is that the GigRig sends its patch change command on MIDI channel 1, 2, and 3. Now let's say we want to change that. So what we have to do is to press exactly 3 of these buttons. If we only want the GigRig to fire on one MIDI channel, then we press the same button 3 times. So let's say instead of MIDI channel 1, 2, 3, we want to like send on 1, 2, and 4. So we would press 1, 2, 4. Okay, all of the other lights are flashing again, and that means the GigRig is ready to accept programming on a different patch. So let's set back to 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. So press that here. Where was I? Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. So we're done. So as you saw before, my patches 8, 9, and 10, they are set to stompbox mode. And in that stompbox mode, I just want to, like, say, turn on a delay or turn on a chorus. But I don't want like the delay and the chorus at the same time. So when I hit that stompbox button, I just want the delay to work. And so let's see what I've programmed here on number 8. Number 8 is just turning a delay on. So you see here is only button number 2 on. So in this particular patch, the GigRig is only firing a program change command on MIDI channel number 2. And that is great, because whatever like the parent patch has set the big sky and the Mobius, it will leave it there and it will only change out the delay. Okay, so let's power the GigRig off and power it on again, and then we will see how that works in practice. So now the GigRig has remembered all of the MIDI channel programming that we did, and let's see what we have. So for example, here we have patch number 2, and in patch number 2 there is no delay on. So if we had it on, there would be a delay program that I've called Sparkle. Now let's hit patch button number 8. And remember, so you see here the big sky is set to a sound that I called clean, and the Mobius is set to a sound that I called chorus. Now I hit button number 8, which is in stompbox mode, and turns on a delay. And what you see here is now that the timeline switched its patch to digital delay. And so that is really sweet, because now I have 2 different delay options on my clean sound, if that is what I want. If I press the button 2 again, the stompbox mode turns off and my delay returns to Sparkle. So this is basically how you can set up the GigRig to work with your Strymon pedals, all 3 of them at the same time, and have them change their patches individually. Still quite a bit of work to program all of these sounds, but this is what such a complicated setup is for, and you can really create marvelous sounds, and I hope that I can convince you down the road that this pedal board can indeed create wonderful sounds. Thank you very much for listening.